welcome to That's Canon, a podcast talking about the Canon film series and other similar movies. This is episode 43, and I'm your host, Phil.
And I'm Greg.
And Greg, I'm a little sleep
Ugh.
deprived after being at the drive-in movie.
Yes.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Did we just watch the shittiest Canon movie yet?
I don't think you're sleep deprived enough to be imagining that. It was something.
It was
something.
We watched the movie Hot Chili, which confused my wife because she thought I was messing with her. She was like, "There's a movie called Hot Chili." I was like, "Yeah," and the movie had really nothing to do with chili, as in like the thing that you put on hot dogs or eat from a bowl with crackers. Should it have been called like Hot Chilies?
Yes, I think so. I honestly didn't really give the movie's title much thought until it was one of those movies where we did get to hear it spoken by the characters at one point, but they were talking about soup and not actual chili,
which is
so
even
I don't
weirder
know.
because the movie's set in Mexico, right?
Yes.
So
in Tijuana, I think.
Something like that. It was filmed on site in Mexico, big American production. I don't know. Is Mexico known for chili?
I don't know. I'll be talking out of my ass if I try to give an opinion. I assumed it was like a Tex-Mex thing.
Okay,
like,
I could see
like
that.
Mexican inspired, but I honestly have no idea.
It's
I'm sure Mexican chili, if it exists, is much different than what we are imagining. Like the Hormel crap you get out of a can.
What is that? Skyline chili or whatever they call it. Mexican chili is pinto beans, garlic, beef, Mexican oregano, cayenne pepper. Okay, that sounds pretty good. And we're getting way off topic here, but I mean, this is more
sound too far from chili that we would, know about.
Yeah, I would assume they would probably put some like corn in there too. Yeah, I mean, I'd eat that chili, that's for sure.
I'm actually getting hungry now for chili because chili is a delicious meal that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
Whereas this movie makes you want to die.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you there. I think it was within the first few minutes of the film where I was like, Greg is gonna fucking hate every minute of this movie.
Yeah. So it's I mean, if you've been listening to the podcast this far, you know that I am not a fan of this genre that we call boner comedies. And I think that says it all about what this movie is. It is like Porky's and Animal House, I would argue, is kind of a boner comedy. It's worse than that. It's that, but covered in like rotten hot garbage.
Just wait, I'm gonna burp. Bullshit. And it's so lazy too. I think that's the worst part about it.
Yeah.
The movie starts off with like postcards of places in Mexico and just zany things, and all I could think of was this is the intro to National Lampoon's Vacation. This is the thing that they did.
You're right.
During Vacation.
You're right. Oh, well, just add that to the list of grave offenses of this movie.
Yeah.
So before we get too far into it, you sent me a message on Discord this morning. I assume you had just started watching it. You said, you basically saying like, Greg, you're definitely going to DNF this.
Yes.
And I will say right now, I did finish this movie. But if I'm being really honest, I think I only finished it because you sent that message to me, and Pseudo challenged me to not get through it. I had to prove you wrong, I guess.
And that is quite the feat right there. It was so excruciating this morning watching this movie.
Yeah.
And it was just so extremely lazy. And like I said, it starts off immediately ripping off
another movie,
another great movie. And when
Yeah.
when I saw this, I was like, okay, maybe this is a lost comedy. Like there's just so many comedies in the 80s that came out, and this one kind of fell to the wayside. But
Mm-mm.
no, this should have fallen to the wayside and never got a DVD transfer.
No. There's so many, like, think about that for a second. There's so many lost films from like early film history back in the 20s and 30s, the silent era. Why couldn't this have been lost in a castle or in like a salt mine
I was about
somewhere
to say a salt mine where it's never found again.
where it's never going to be seen by human eyes or heard by human ears again?
You know,
It's yeah, I mean I'll tip my hand for the final thoughts, but I actively hate this movie.
same here.
It was bad, and we'll get to the point. Like I said, I think I only finished it because you pseudo dared me to, but I I will get there will be a point where I was really close to hitting the stop button.
Oh, I'll tell you when mine was.
Oh boy, I can't wait. This is interesting. I wonder who got further before they their finger trembled over the stop button.
So the movie is directed by William Sachs, who I guess is a real movie director. He directed The Incredible Melting Man, which is a horror sci-fi movie of the 70s. It's kind of cheesy, but kind of great at the same time.
Okay.
He has a couple other credits to his name, but Hot Chili is closer to the end of his career than the beginning. And
Oh,
if you didn't notice, he's also one of the credited writers, along with Menachem Golem. That's right.
ugh.
He's probably trying to bring in that lemonade. What? That's the thing that he
Le-
like.
what was it? It was lemon
Lemon,
something. It was like lemon popsicle.
lemon popsicle, I believe it was what it was called. Like he's trying to
Hmm.
bring in those comedies, those foreign comedies to American audiences. And despite failing multiple times doing this, this is yet again another attempt
Yeah,
at getting this done.
he just won't let it die. He's come hell or high water. He's gonna make this genre work for him, and it just. I mean, we've seen a couple so far, right? I mean, I think Making the Grade is kind of a boner comedy.
Yeah,
What are the
boner
what?
light comedy, definitely though.
Yeah. What
Uh
other ones have we seen?
oh
What was the
jeez.
that was the gas pump girls,
Gas
right?
Pump Girls was one of the boner comedies. And I think that one was a little more enjoyable because it had kind of a flirty sensibility about it, right?
Yeah, that one was ever so slightly more fun.
There was a couple that we missed though. We couldn't find a copy of The Last American Virgin.
Oh, thank God.
I'm
Oh, the
still
Happy Hooker Goes to Hollywood.
Happy Hooker
That's
Goes to
another one. Yeah.
Hollywood. Um, so yeah, there's definitely a few there, and I'm gonna find a copy of The Last American Virgin, and we are going to watch it. So
Please, Phil, no.
don't worry about that.
Please let me die.
Let me live in peace. After you get
Uh,
through a pretty decent intro credit sequence, because it makes you remember movies past that are so much better,
Better movies. Yeah.
you quickly
Oh,
go ahead.
wait. Okay, did you have the same realization? I think this was the first full canon logo intro that we've ever seen
Oh, you know
with
what?
the
Yeah,
animation and the sound, right?
exactly. You know what? You're right. Because I hear it so often because we do this.
Yeah.
But I was like, oh man, it's the entire thing this time.
It's the entire thing. Yeah, like we've got it in the intro, in the intro to the show. Even Becky was like listening over my shoulder when the movie started. She's like, wow, like I wasn't sure if you were actually listening to an old episode or if you were playing a movie because she hears that so much too, just like secondhand.
It's so
That was
great.
kind of a cool, that was the high point of this movie was the canon intro,
You
and it just like ski hilled down so fast.
Oh yeah. Not even ski hill. It's like falling out of a fucking
Oh,
plane.
yeah, off Half Dome.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because a ski hill implies that there is quality from the get-go.
that's true.
and it was just going down from there.
Oh, okay, so we started in Death Valley and then fell into a bottomless pit.
We literally
go.
almost start in Death Valley. We open up in Mexico, or maybe extreme Southern California
Yeah, desert
as
area.
our main characters are driving down the highway, the road. It's really weird. There's a woman on the side of a road posed sexily on her motorcycle for no apparent reason.
Oh, it was a taste of things to come.
I guess she's out there trying to get that skin cancer. Um, and we get introduced to the four main characters. Now they all have legitimate names in this movie, and at points, I kind of knew who each one was, but it really breaks down to Fatso, Skinny, Nerd, and Ginger. Right?
Oh wow, you differentiated the two like good looking guys better than I did. For mine, it was fat guy, wiener kid, and Chad 1 and Chad 2.
Chad 1 and Chad 2. I love it.
And I was quite frequently getting them mixed up because they look so similar. I think the hair color was slightly different, yeah, but yeah,
So,
I don't remember their names.
I'll say
whatsoever.
this: out of the four, the Ginger is actually a legit actor. That's right. We're watching
What?
the great stylings of Alan Kaiser, who was in the amazing movie Night of the Creeps, who stars in it Tom Atkins.
What?
And here's another, it's like a Lampoon connection here. The kid who played Rusty in European Vacation, Jason Lively. This is a movie about slugs that get into people's brains and turn them into zombies.
Yeah.
Yes. That movie's awesome.
Oh man.
Also,
I thought for sure there were nobodies in this, but this guy, we actually had someone with a career.
he did have a career. He also starred in 4 seasons of Mama's Family. And I'd like to start off the podcast. Welcome to Mama's Family, the podcast talking about the great 80s series Mama's Family and other similar TV shows.
Didn't we talk about that like a couple weeks ago?
We
when were
did.
like binging that whole series.
I haven't gotten to the seasons where he's in it, but he plays the character Bubba Higgins. So the first 2 seasons of Mama's Family, while it was popular, it ended up getting canceled. And in between the 2nd and 3rd season, they essentially everyone got let go. All their contracts expired.
Sure.
And the showrunner, Vicki Lawrence, she got another contract with someone else. Mama's Family went to first run syndication. They had to hire everyone back, but a lot of people didn't come back. People rightfully so. Yeah, because they got fired, right? So people like Betty White and Rue McClanahan, they went on to do Golden Girls together. Thank God. So they had to fill in the cast, and they got this guy to be Bubba Higgins. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
But anyways, let's get back to the movie. So we have these 4 kids. They're supposed to be kids, but they all look like they're 25.
Yeah,
and
at least.
All they're lamenting as they're driving towards their end destination is how much they want to get laid.
Oh yes, we continue to hear about that throughout the movie. In fact,
Ad
and
nauseum.
it does not get old. Sarcasm.
Right? That's the right word. Ad nauseum. Like they just keep saying it so much. At points, it loses all meaning.
Yeah. It's like when you say one word over and over and over again, and it sounds like it becomes gibberish in your brain. That's what happens to this movie.
And it's insane that we're 5 minutes in. We're 5 minutes into it. They're at their destination. So we've built all the rapport that we're going to have, or relationship between us, the viewer, and these 4 characters. And as they arrive to this Mexican destination, we start getting the gags, and they come hard and they come fast. It's like, hey, this is the place that you're going to sleep at. There's a donkey in there. And then we get introduced to the guy who runs this Mexican villa.
It's like a resort. I guess it reminds me of those like sandals, like all-inclusive sandals resorts.
Yeah.
Where it's in a foreign country, but it's more like Disney, like a Disney World version of that foreign country.
Exactly. Okay, yeah. Definitely. The guy who runs the resort has an extremely long name. And it's supposed to be funny because he's like, "Oh, I like to be called my entire name." So all the kids are trying to figure out,
Like trying to remember it
did
because it's like 4 or 5 names.
the guy came off as French to me, not Mexican.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that. Like, I mean, I'm not a super great expert in accents, but it definitely sounded like this was a guy who was putting on a bad accent, right? Because he definitely had, there was like French kind of creeping in there sometimes, some kind of vague European accent.
Yeah. Senor Esteban Rodriguez Cortez
The third.
the third, because that's the punchline.
Get it? Because the accent, it sounds like he's saying turd instead of third.
Oh, that was the joke. That's right. Okay. That's right. They say his name and they all say, because he has the accent, he goes, Senor Esteban Rodriguez, deterred. And all the kids call him deterred.
Poop jokes.
It's such a shitty joke that even
It's
I
just
didn't
the
fucking
worst.
get it. And you know what? The guy who plays Esteban, his name is Jerry Lazarus. He's been in a couple other canon films, most notably Breakin'
Oh, no.
2, as
Really?
and he's credited as Paris director. So I wonder if this guy is
No.
French.
Maybe he is French and he just, oh, that's bad. They couldn't get an actual guy from Mexico or any of the Latin American countries who would have an authentic accent. They, oh my God, so lazy.
Yeah. He was also in Police Academy 5 Assignment Miami Beach. He played the character Sugar. That one sucks. Don't watch it. So back to Hot Chili. All the kids they're kind of getting like, they're getting their assignments. And essentially their assignments are do everything that everyone in the
So-
hotel needs and don't fuck anyone.
Here's the thing though. When the movie opens, I got the very distinct impression that they were going on like a spring break vacation, right? Like they've got their bags, they're all like they look like they're relaxed and having fun when they're driving down. I got major whiplash when I realized that, like, wait, they're working at this place and not going on vacation? Does that weird to you at all?
It kind of is weird, but I also remember this kind of being a plot point for American Pie 2, where all the
Oh God, I never saw that.
I watched all of them over pandemic part 1.
I'm so sorry.
And so all the kids go to the like Virginia Beach, and because they need money, they get a summer job so they can
Right.
fund all the antics that they do. So I didn't expect it from this movie, but I have seen that kind of trope
Right.
where it's like, let's go to a destination, and in order for us to afford to have fun, we also have to have a job. But this
Right.
movie is 100% the job and none of the
Yeah.
fun.
It's like, I think you're right. I think I've seen other like summer movies where that's the kind of the trope, which I mean, that makes sense. I think that's what a lot of people did back then. You'd go get a summer job and hang out for the summer. But like, yeah, there will be usually like a mix, at least 50-50, like work antics and on the side antics. This is like they're indentured servants here, practically.
Pretty
Like,
much.
there's no, the manager, like you said before, is like, no fun whatsoever. You will work all day and then go to sleep and not have sex with anyone.
And that's
He made a point to say.
all that he was 50% right. There is no fun in this movie. And we just see these kids for like the first 10 minutes. They're like scrubbing floors and doing all this shit work. And they're in the kitchen cleaning up. And in walks, the quality of the movie is very low. Not in the sense that the movie sucks. It does. But the film quality that we watched it is like VHS at points.
Yeah, like 8th, 9th, 10th generation copy with JPEG artifacts. It was
Yes.
garbage.
So in walks a woman of age between the ages of 40 to 100. She,
Of age. Yeah.
she's nice in some of the right places, and she's nude. She's all she's wearing is what do you call it? An apron?
Like yeah, like a cooking, like a Kiss the Chef kind of apron.
Yeah. and she's just talking gibberish. I don't really get the whole point. Essentially, she's just like, hey, I'm the cook. You guys are doing a really good job cleaning. I'm naked. And then she just walks away.
I don't understand. It was like this weird, like, was it supposed to be sexy? Was it supposed to be funny? It was just kind of like Granny Bombshell for no reason.
Granny Bombshell. she's
That's what I call her in my notes. She shows up a couple times. She's Granny Bombshell.
She's right up there with Ellen Burstyn's boobs.
Oh,
That's like a new canon list. We got boner comedies, and then we got Granny Bombshells.
Granny Bombshell comedies.
I think I would put Ellen Burstyn number 1 on my Granny Bombshell list.
Yeah, this weird cook lady who's like speaking in tongues to these confused teenagers.
And I thought
At the bottom.
because she's like platinum blonde, and she's talking with what I thought was a very fake Hispanic accent, but she's actually from Havana, Cuba.
Oh, and she's legitimately just unintelligible.
Yeah, she's just literally dumb as shit.
So you brought up an interesting point, which the fact that she's like platinum blonde. Every single woman in this movie, every single actress that they cast to be like the quote unquote like the sex objects that these guys are like lusting after this whole time, horribly objectified. They all look identical.
I bet you it's because of Menachem Golem.
You think it was like an intentional casting decision? Like
I would
the creepy casting director has a type.
I would assume this that because it's made with foreign film sensibilities, that to them blonde is exotic, right? Brunette, very common, probably especially over in Israel where they're from. So I would assume that the blonde woman is more exotic.
So you think this is just like, we're making an American sex comedy, so they've got to be all like that California blonde look.
Blonde, big boobs, dumb.
Oh God. And
I'm not wrong, because it's almost pretty much 100% true.
Yeah, you feel so bad for the actresses, like the crap that they'd make them say is part of the script. But it like the fact that they all look the same, it works against the movie because you can't tell them apart. I mean, maybe again, it was the fact that we were watching this on a really crappy copy, so that they were all like their faces were all JPEGy and we couldn't tell them apart anyway. But it's like there were no distinct characters.
Yes, 100%. All the women are frighteningly the same. They're just, you can just call them younger blonde, older blonde, oldest blonde, German blonde.
Granny Bombshell, German Bombshell, regular Bombshell.
Should I be watching this Bombshell? And so after we get the Granny Bombshell, we go back to antics. The Wiener Kid is helping Blonde Bombshell to her room, and the gag is she's really mean. This kid is dumb as fuck, and they can't find the room. I am not going to go beat by beat for this gag. Just know that this gag goes on for almost 20 minutes.
Is it really? Because it's cut in with other antics.
Yes.
Does it really go on 20 minutes?
It goes on for like almost 20 minutes.
God.
And it's
it
brutal.
Felt long, but that's bad. Yeah, because I mean that was one of the few things that got kind of close to being funny because it went on so long, and eventually like they ended up outside in a bullfighting ring in the woods. Like that was almost close to being a funny joke if it weren't for the fact that this woman was like slapping the shit out of the teenage boy the whole time.
Yes.
Like, stop talking to me.
It was
just weird.
It went from I exhaled pretty hard through my nose to wow, she's just overly abusive right now.
and it's another one of those things that like, was it supposed to be funny? Like, haha, look at him being abused by this hotel patron.
Slapstick, man. Yeah. I don't know.
I guess.
And then we get another gag, and this is a recurring. All of these are recurring gags. No gag is left unturned, untouched, or unretouched.
Oh no. These dead horses are all thoroughly beaten
These-
into a fine horse jello.
These horses came in dead.
These horses were never
They were never alive. They just already started just beating the shit out of it. They're like, let's make this into glue.
Oh, that's good. That's what a perfect metaphor for this movie. This horse came in dead.
There's
Perfect.
music blonde bombshell who's nude playing musical instruments, and she gets aroused teaching and instructing how to play instruments.
What was the first one? Was it a cello or is it a violin?
It was
Some
a-
string instrument.
It was a cello, and
yeah.
he's holding her hand, holding the bow, and he's like, where do I put my other hand? And she's pretty much like, on my boobs. And then we get
Yeah.
another old couple. We get great granny bombshell and like an old man who's dressed up as a cowboy or some shit.
Yeah, this is the kooky cowboy couple, the
Yeah.
kooky sexually active cowboy couple.
Who have a daughter. This is the one that has the daughter, right?
I thought she was supposed to be a granddaughter.
Granddaughter. They have a granddaughter. And obviously she's going to be the love interest for one of the, not the ginger guy, the other good looking guy. And it
Chad 1 or Chad 2.
Chad
it doesn't
1, it doesn't matter.
matter.
I guess we can briefly talk about that. It really brings nothing to the table. They have no chemistry. They have maybe 2 scenes together, and for some reason, we're supposed to fucking care.
Yeah, you use the phrase like love interest. That's
It's a stretch.
putting it very charitably. Like she shows up, of course, toplessly is the first time we actually see her because Cowboy Grandpa's like, oh, you got to go babysit my granddaughter so I can scoot off and bang my wife.
Yeah.
In so many words. And of course, he walks in on the granddaughter in the shower.
Yep.
Because that's a thing.
Because that's what happens. That's what happens in Mexican resorts.
I guess. But like the other part of that weird cowboy couple, like they tried to make it a joke that they're like constantly talking about getting laid too, like the teenage boys, like the old lady says something like, oh, I forgot my diaphragm and my luggage. Can you go get it for me, dear?
Yep.
Ha ha ha. I get it. Old people are banging.
And sadly, this is what the movie is for such an extreme length of time. And it's exhausting even just going over it. One of the bigger gags in the movie is all 4 of the guys find German granny bombshell.
Oh God, yeah. German bombshell, yep.
And
Who's also of a certain age.
Yep. And she's DTF. And she essentially just wants all of the guys. And despite the fact that this movie for the last 25 minutes has gone, oh, we need to fuck people, we need to fuck someone, we need to have sex, let's have sex. When it comes to the point of them actually being able to do it, none of them want to stand up and do it. They're all like timid all of a sudden.
I guess it's kind of realistic. Like teenage boys like talking a big game, but then being too nervous to go through with it. Especially with this crazy like who ends up being like a hardcore dominatrix German lady.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of get there being a little apprehensive about jumping into that deep end, but still, like the way that they've talked about it so far, you'd think that they would be all over this.
Exactly.
She's basically throwing herself at them.
The fat one ends up jumping into the deep end with German granny. And yeah, it turns out she's a dominatrix. She starts whipping them. All of the guys start peeping in through cracks and holes, and they're like getting off on it.
Yeah, they're all like in their tighty whities looking through a keyhole. It's just uncomfortable to watch.
This is 100%.
I'm embarrassed for the movie.
Oh, definitely. And this scene from the I didn't watch all of Porky's. I didn't finish it. But from the few moments that I saw in the movie, this is from Porky's, where a guy goes to bang a hooker and all the other guys are waiting outside in their underwear, looking through cracks and holes in on the action.
Ugh.
Exactly, right? They can't even make their own boner comedy original. They're stealing classic
Gags.
classic gags from other movies and doing it worse.
Doing it worse, making you feel uncomfortable and dirty just watching it.
Yeah.
Oh, before I forget, we have to rewind a little bit to when the German lady shows up at the hotel. She gets out of a limousine, right? And she's like, oh, blah, blah, blah. My husband will be along in a couple days. And then we get the only recognizable face for me, because you can't miss this face.
It's
Who is the limo driver but Robert Zadar?
Robert, the biggest fucking chin, Zadar.
Oh man, from such hits as Maniac Cop and Samurai Cop and other things that I can't think of at the moment,
he's
but I'm sure are great.
in oh my god, I can't think. It's the Kurt Russell Sylvester Stallone film, Tango and Cash. He's
Tango
in it.
Cash, yep.
Yeah, Robert Zadar. This guy, I'm telling
B-movie
you,
royalty.
he is. I know he suffers from some kind of disease. I think it's Cherub's disease.
Yeah, something specific where it causes kind of like a facial overgrowth.
But I gotta tell you, like, he leaned in so hard with capitalizing on his medical condition, and
Yeah.
the guy's great.
Oh yeah, he's awesome, and I'm glad because in when we first introduce when the German lady shows up in the car, like he's like standing in the background, like half covered by the foreground characters. I was worried that he was just gonna be legit background character through the whole movie, and we weren't gonna see him get to see him talk and do anything goofy. Thank God that wasn't the case, but
Yeah,
because yeah, he makes a perfect intimidating German limo driver.
he does. And then as you said, the husband was going to come in a couple days, but he has arrived early, and he wants to see his wife. And the owner of the resort I guess he kind of realizes that those kids are probably banging his wife, or at least messing around.
Yeah,
And
so
he
tries to
starts like,
slow him down.
yeah, he starts like vamping and slowing down and taking him around the entire villa. And eventually the German guy's like, oh, hey, these guys are trying to bang my wife. And ensues a Benny Hill style chase where he's like running around with like a German Luger trying to kill him and stuff. Not really trying to kill him. He's just going like, I'm going to kill him. And he has a gun, but nothing really ever happens with it.
No.
And it's just super weird.
Yeah, you can definitely, like you said, tell that they're trying to go for like a goofy Benny Hill thing where they're getting chased all through the hotel and in one door and out the other door. It's just not funny though.
It
Not
isn't.
at all.
Not a single moment of the chase is funny. And for some reason, despite like the German guy wanting to kill all these kids, it's immediately dropped. And it's almost like they forgot what the plot or what the story is, because the kids immediately go back to just performing their job in the villa again.
I mean, like if you're listening to this podcast and you're thinking the chronology, like this is, the chronology of this movie makes no sense to me. It does, because, or it absolutely does not make sense, because every one of these scenes could be interchanged with any other scene throughout the second half of the movie. Like it's just, there's like two kinds of scenes. There's hijinks with the ladies and there's hijinks with the boss doing the hotel work.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so hard to kind of talk about, because they're all so samey.
They're
Because
very samey.
now we have Bubba from Mama's Family. He has a turn of meeting the music lady, and she's playing a flute, and she's naked in the pool, and then they have sex. And then we have a gag in the kitchen where they're trying to get the chains off the fat guy from the German dominatrix, right?
Oh yeah, and they're like, what do? They like try to boil his hands to like make them smaller to fit through the chains, but then they realize that heat makes you swell.
Yep. And then they put him in a freezer And when they put them in the freezer, like a woman walks in and she's like, "Oh, what are you doing?" And then it cuts
That's
to
that's what's her name? That's the bombshell granny from the
Yep.
beginning. The cook.
the cook.
Oh.
And again, it's just the kids just kind of doing boner comedy kind of things. They're out by the pool having fun and whatnot. And then we cut, and the fat guy gets the chance with the music lady, and she's playing the tuba naked. She's playing the tuba naked. And then Chad One's parents show up. we're just gonna bang through the big notable gags here. Okay.
So the parents show up. It's like, because they talk about the parents a little bit in the beginning. How like, oh, he's a rich family. They come from New York. They're constantly talking about the Catskills for some reason.
Dude,
Like we hear them mention that at least a dozen or 24 times.
So I probably missed maybe like 10 minutes of this movie because I was reading about the Catskills.
Which is an infinitely more interesting subject than watching this movie.
I didn't know that it was all the way up in New York, but I guess that kind of makes sense. You've been there, right?
Yeah, it's upstate New York. I've got some family who live in the, got a kind of a summer house in the area, and it's a nice area. But they in this movie they constantly referring to it as like, I can't tell if they're ragging on it. Like, oh yeah, I don't want to do another summer in the Catskills. I want to go somewhere exciting like Mexico.
It kind of reminds me of Dirty Dancing. They go to that resort like every year, and the kids are like, "Oh, I don't want to go anymore." But the parents are, "Oh, this is like tradition. This is what we do. This is vacation." Maybe it's kind of that mentality. I don't know.
I guess so. But then, so like we're hearing them constantly like disparaging it because it's like, oh, it's a boring vacation place. But then fast forward to what you just said, the parents showing up. And they're constantly talking about, oh, this place is hot. I want to go back to the Catskills.
Exactly. I'm assuming because it's summer. The Catskills average Fahrenheit temperature is 83.8 degrees. So it's not super cold there.
No, not nowadays for sure. I mean, it's like, this is a post-global warming world, my friends.
Oh yeah.
Everywhere's hot as shit in the summer.
Exactly. I mean, we're in the pre-water wars of
Mad Max
right now. So
enjoy those cool Catskills while you can, 80s boner comedy kids.
Exactly. But yeah, and the parents aren't even notable. You would think that for these like kind of bit roles, they'd pay a little extra money and maybe get a TV star of, forgotten past.
Yeah, I was just gonna say this is where like the washed up movie star from like the 50s would show up.
Yeah.
As like the curmudgeon dad or the domineering mother, which are the two parents.
We got Don Knotts.
Someone, Dick Miller.
Yeah, Dick Miller. Oh, we gotta get back to the Catskills.
Those damn Catskills.
At first, I thought they were saying cat scales. And I was like, what the fuck is a cat scale?
Ah, the Catskills. Yes.
It's just really weird.
Like some kind of witchcraft ingredient. Eye of newt and scale of cat.
But during this dinner scene where essentially all the main players are, Chad One goes up to his love interest and her mom is there. And she's like, oh, you're too poor. And he's like, well, my dad runs a shoe store. Oh, he runs a shoe store. There's like 500 locations. He owns it. And then there's a blah. And then we cut to the kitchen where Fatty and Granny Bombshell are. This is actually the scene where I did get a chuckle just from the visual of it. Fatty and the Granny Bombshell are banging in the freezer. And they're like blue and they have icicles on them. And I was like, why couldn't it be this clever all the time?
Yeah, this was one of two things in the movie. The first one that actually got like almost a chuckle out of me because that's kind of a joke. Like, oh, like they forgot about the fat guy in the freezer and Granny Bombshell's in there trying to warm them up and they've got icicles on them. I mean, they're frozen together. So dumb.
It is.
but it's at least close to a joke.
And I think
I guess.
the reason why we would even come that close to laughing is because we suffered for the past hour of a joke deficit in this movie.
A joke drought.
Yeah, it's a joke drought for sure.
That's true. Yeah, we're so depressed and hunger for anything like somewhat resembling a joke that we'll laugh at anything at this point.
By the way, joke drought, trademark, registered copyright of That's Canon
That's
Incorporated.
Canon. Joke drought.
Joke drought. Anyways, but then immediately we just go right back. We just go right back into, I guess, just like boner comedy at 10. This last like 20 minutes, it's almost like everyone took fucking boner pills.
So we before we go too far off this, we have to talk about the dinner scene a little bit, because we talk about how scenes go on forever in a lot of movies, which it literally just like feels like forever because it's really just like 3 minutes of really bad dialogue, which stretches out in your brain to like 10 hours. This dinner scene went on for 10 minutes.
Brutal.
10 minutes in a movie where like it's the same scene, same character, same blocking, same jokes for 10 minutes. Oh my God.
It goes from like family to family.
Yep, table to table.
Where they just give boner jokes. Like really bad ones too.
Yeah, because it's like the dad. Okay, let's set the scene a little bit. There's the guy with Chad One and his family who came to visit him. They're at one table, and the dad paid the manager to seat the single blonde lady who was abusing Wiener Kid in the beginning. Paid the manager to seat her there so that he could look at her boobs the whole dinner.
You know what? I didn't get that part, man. I honestly, I was like, who the fuck is this woman? And why should I care about her?
I think it's the same woman, right? The abusive lady from the beginning.
I think so too, but it was just
again, yeah, they all look the same. Yeah, they look the same, they act the same. So like that's happening at one table. So we get lots of hijinks there of the dad like trying to get her to like lean over so her blouse opens up. Then we've got the goofy cowboy couple who are like with at dinner with their granddaughter, and then the granddaughter's like, "Grandma, don't drink too much, or Grandpa's gonna take advantage of you." And she's like, "Oh, I hope he does."
That's a good impression.
Thank you. That's my granny cowboy bombshell impression. So we've got them, and then we've got the wholesome daughter and her mother, both of whom are blonde bombshells, looking identical. She's like I said, the wholesome like love interest kind of for the one Chad number one. He goes over to that table a couple times to try and like get the daughter to hang out, but the mother's not having it. Then we've got the German couple who are there, I think. And then we've got, who else? Is that it?
I feel like you hit all of them, but
that's all major. But like this whole scene just bounces between bad joke to bad joke at each different table for 10 freaking minutes.
It's
so painful.
Insane. And I do you have like a fucking like string diagram to keep track of all this shit?
That's good. Like that meme from like Charlie in Always Sunny in Philadelphia, where he's got the Pepe Sylvia and all the different mail recipients in the office between with the red yarn between them, and
you're like tracking like who's boning who and who's got what dick joke and stuff like that.
You almost would need that level of insanity to keep track of this.
But someone does go while they're eating soup. They're like, I like spicy soup. This is really hot chili.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's where we get the title drop.
Which again, just doesn't. It would be different if like I guess what would have been smart is that they had like a Hispanic woman. Maybe she's like an entertainer. She's gorgeous, and her
like a singer or something.
Yeah, and her stage name is like Hot Chili, right? And she sings sings songs. I mean, you gotta dial your brain back to the 80s.
Oh yeah,
right?
that what you just said is 100% I could buy as being in this movie.
and that would be the titular hot chili. It's not literally
Oh,
fucking
yeah.
hot chili.
Like the food. Good
Yeah.
God. See that what you described, like that would be a much better movie. Like how about this? It's a boner comedy where like they're competing like Hot Chili. She's the like the vocalist who comes on and sings every night, and they're all trying to like to get with her,
Yeah.
and they're trying to like dot, but they're the whole time they're dodging these like older ladies who are like trying to get in their pants like against their will, which sounds
Yes.
way creepier when you say it like that. But like that's they gotta like dodge all the old ladies to get to Hot Chili.
It's a resort for older couples, right?
Ooh,
The
yeah, like
resort
old
hires
swingers.
young studs because the women like to look at younger guys, right? And you can even have a scene where it's like, yeah, we get the hot young guys to come in. It loosens up the women. They spend a little bit more money. You're supposed to flirt with them, but don't have sex with them. Um,
God,
all the older women are trying to have sex with them, but they're only trying to have sex with hot chili,
with Hot Chili, the seductive singer. Yeah,
who
man.
who would be married to someone
The evil owner.
the evil owner. Like you wouldn't. Oh, no. Okay, so the owner wouldn't be evil. He would be super effeminate. So you would think that he's gay. And then the stinger, the joke at the end is that they're married, and all the guys are like, "What?"
What?
Because they'll have like really horrible, mean-spirited gay jokes throughout the
God.
entire film, right? Where like the owner is in a predicament where like it makes him look like he's maybe possibly homosexual. And all the guys are like, they make the 80s stereotypical jokes and stuff like that. And then at the
Yeah.
end, he's actually with Hot Chili.
Oh, like when one of the characters, do you think he's gonna make it with Hot Chili? And she's like, "What? No, I'm
No,
married."
I'm married to who? And then in walks the resort owner. Maybe he's looking,
What?
yeah, he's looking fabulous. And they're just like, what do you mean you're married to him? And you're like, oh, he's all man.
And they just start going at it.
Yeah.
See, I'm horribly uncomfortable with the movie that you've just set up for me, and that means that it would make $1 billion in the 80s comedy world.
I'm a man out of time.
I hate it, and it was a genius idea.
That would be your stereotypical 80s kids go to Mexico to make money and have fun and have sex
and
film.
Get laid.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It hits all of the offensive notes, all of the bad comedy, and it would be way better than the movie that we got.
Exactly. I don't get how we got the movie that we did from this, where it's again, it's so shocking. It's so shockingly inoffensive, yet it constantly has nudity in it. Like they just went, let's not put jokes in it. Let's just put boobs in it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the jokes are the visual gags, but visual gags don't in the 80s. They don't. That's not the temperature or the climate of comedy at the time. It is the joke. It's the offensive joke. If you look at any of the great comedies in the 80s, you got like Eddie Murphy, like a lot of his comedic stylings in the films are like dead silence, and then he like curses or says something extremely offensive, and because it's so shocking,
that kind of shock
laugh.
humor. That's actually a really good point. Like this movie, as far as 80s comedies go, it's very, I don't think it has any like like horribly sexist kind of humor, like mean spirited things said about women, or about like homophobic jokes or racist jokes.
None. There's
no really
F-bombs.
Not any. Yeah, that's a really good point. So really, this is just softcore porn.
It is. I was kind of shocked that they didn't drop any F-bombs, and I'm not saying the fuck word, the other horribly offensive F-bomb.
Oh, yeah. Just so we're clear, that's the F-bomb that we're thinking about, which is thrown around like candy in some of these other movies.
Even in movies like Bill and Ted, they call each other that. And at the time, like, you know,
Horrible.
at the moment in that climate, it was acceptable. But as you move on, you realize when you see it, like, oh crap, I can't believe they said that. But looking back at this movie, it's shocking that they didn't do that. Because they
Yeah.
even set up a scene in the movie after the
Oh,
dinner scene
yeah.
that got really awkward, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And I honestly thought something was going to happen there.
And nothing did. Yeah. So it's like, so we go back to the limo driver, Robert Zadar, our good buddy, the Chin Meister. He is outside hanging out by the limo. I think he had just had sex with the wholesome love interest daughter, her mom.
Yeah.
So she had left. So he's like smoking a cigar. And then the hotel manager, the guy with a really long name, comes up and he's like, "Hey, you got a light?" And then the limo driver's like, "No, not with me, but I think I got one in the back of the car." And then they just go sit in the back seat of the limo. He lights a cigar, and that's the end of it.
Oh, they totally banged.
They did, but that's the shocking thing, is that in an 80s movie like this, you expect it to be A, way more offensive, and B, way more graphic in for a variety of ways. Like, but none of it happens. It's shockingly reserved
And
in that regard. It's so weird.
what's weird is I agree with you on that scene, but that's not the scene I'm talking about.
Oh, it's not.
There's a
Okay.
scene, and maybe we already passed it or something.
We
But
probably did, yeah.
essentially, the wiener kid and the fat one are
Mhm.
confiding in each other, where the wiener kid's like, I didn't have sex. You've had sex. You guys make fun of me, and you only want me because I have a car. And then the fat guy's like, well, I know you guys make fun of me because I'm fat. And they kind of like, they start,
They have a moment.
it's really tense. It's very tender. It's almost like someone was writing a movie. And these two, I was like, the fat guy's gonna have sex with the nerd kid.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I thought the exact same thing. Like, that's the tone and the emotional mood
Yeah,
at that point. Like, you think like, okay, and now they kiss.
exactly. There was more chemistry between those two than
Yeah.
anyone else in the entire movie.
100% agree in that like 2 seconds, which it would be almost admirable if it were intentional,
Yeah,
which it was 100% not. It was just like they, broken clock is right twice a day kind of thing, where like they thought they were writing a funny joke or like a moment between friends and didn't realize what they were writing,
yeah.
I guess.
It was very shocking, to say the least.
Yeah, again, shocking in that in what they didn't do, because in these kind of movies, they would go to 11 with it and make you uncomfortable,
Yep.
and piss you off. But no, surprisingly, no.
Surprisingly, no. After
Where the hell in the movie are we at this point?
so
Dinner scene, right?
we're after the dinner scene. We're at the moment where literally everyone starts pairing off with different
Yes.
couples. Like
Yes.
Chad one's dad goes off with a woman, and then Chad one's mom goes off with a guy, and then Bubba from Mama's Family goes off with a girl. The nerdy guy goes off with a girl, and all that's left is Chad one's sister, and she goes around filming everyone having sex.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, because we set up early on. The nerdy kid has like an old VHS, like a Betamax camcorder, and she swipes it from his room, and then goes around and just videotapes, including her brother.
Yeah. How fucking
Ugh.
weird is that? How
And
weird
she,
is
and
that?
She lingers on it for a while.
She does.
Too. Like, that's the one she's in. Ugh.
Like, get out. You don't need to be looking at that. But yeah, she starts going around filming everyone having sex. And then the next day, they all get back together, and she starts playing the video for everyone. And
Oh yeah, because they're at breakfast. They're like at breakfast
Yeah.
the next morning, right?
and then everyone sees everyone having sex with everyone. And
And we get reaction, like individual reactions from every single pair, and it's everyone slapping everyone else.
It's like someone sees them having sex with someone else and they're like smug, and then they get smacked. And then it cuts to that person having sex with someone and they look smug, and then they get smacked. Like
And it's just like a chain reaction of jealous friends and lovers smacking each other when they're banging someone else.
yes. And then we cut to a matador. I almost said maitre d. A matador. A maitre d would honestly be funnier. A matador fighting a bull, and then everyone from the restaurant starts charging out, and there's a big chase. But it's not really a chase because people look like they're really having fun.
Oh yeah, because the
And-
fat kid, he like falls out of the stands and he's
Yeah.
got a red shirt on, of course. Goo-hoo-hoo, and he runs out of the stadium. The bull follows him, and then they all chase the bull.
Yeah. And then that's the credits.
Yeah, credits roll while during the chase scene, which I think so. We get the credits of everyone, and we like see them. They're credited as they show up while they're running, right?
Yep. I like that.
The
I
fa-
like when that happens.
Yeah, that was kind of clever.
Classic
And then
80s.
I think they credit some of the crew that way too. Like they show like guys holding boom mics and like lighting rigs, like running along with the bull, and they get credited too.
That's
Which
always
I thought was kind of neat.
that's always so again, that's like kind of like free spirited 80s. Like you would never see that in a movie from today.
Yeah, like the kind of goofy fourth wall breaking, like where they put bloopers
Yep.
over the credits.
We know we're in a movie. The movie's over. I hope you enjoyed it. Here's some weird zaniness at the end.
Sorry about the movie you just watched.
uh
Please don't sue us.
I wish I could. I wish I could. And I have to say, this is probably going to be the quickest episode that we've ever had because we're at the end of the movie. It's a 1 star. It's one.
Oh wow, I gave it 0.
I'm glad you gave it 0.
0. I hate it. And I hate the genre, but even this is bad for the genre.
This
You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, this is a step back for boner comedies.
and there was no steps back to take. Their back was to the Grand Canyon, and they stepped backwards.
Why do you think the boner comedy is gone?
So okay, what was the last real boner was it American Pie?
I want to say it was probably the last American Pie. American Reunion, I would say, is the last boner comedy.
I think it's because audience tastes have changed such that like in order for a boner comedy to work, the whole like central conceit is that these are like guys like on a conquest to get laid, like it's a like women are trophies, and I don't think audiences have a taste for that kind of crap anymore. I think that kind of died in the early 2000s.
It's so weird because the movie was that genre was so strong, right?
For a lot of years,
Yeah, for
like
decades.
late 70s until early 2000s.
Because I mean, there are
Some
some
kept going.
quote unquote classic movies that would fall under the teen sex boner comedy genre, like Fast Times at Ridgemont High,
Right.
Revenge of the Nerds, Weird Science, American Pie, right?
Yeah, American Pie. Yep.
They all made tons of money. And then all of a sudden, everyone as a collective, in a really weird, we all agree on this, went, we don't
Nah.
want this anymore.
Nope. Yeah, it did seem kind of, it was very sudden too, didn't it? Like, I can't think of anything after like the American Pie series that just kind of like fizzled out. I'm sure there have been others that we're just not thinking of, but certainly none that have been that popular. Like we're of the age that we were like teenagers when American Pie came out, and everyone was constantly quoting like one time at band camp, like all that crap.
Yep.
Like it was in the public, subculture at that point. Like everyone knew those things. There's really been nothing that popular since then. Has there been? Am I just missing it?
I can't think of a movie that hit that level. I remember when what's the movie? It's Sarah Michelle Gellar and Ryan Felipe.
Cruel Intentions.
Cruel Intentions came out. Slight sex. It wasn't a boner comedy, but it definitely was a boner. Because the movie revolves
It
around
was just boner.
the movie was kind of a drama, but it revolved around Ryan Felipe having sex with someone in the movie. I don't know. I don't remember who the other person was. I want to say it was like Renee Zellweger, not Renee Zellweger. Reese Witherspoon.
Yeah, I just looked it up. Yep.
But I remember vividly because I was a teenager, the scene with Selma Blair and Sarah Michelle Gellar, and like they kiss, and obviously like French kiss, and then like the MTV Movie Awards that year was like the best kiss goes to them, and that was like a thing for like a couple of years. Was that teen movies needed to have that scene?
Something a little bit like risque and a little bit pushing the taboo.
Exactly.
Where everyone was talking about it. Yeah.
I think in the time that we lived in that early 2000s, internet was there, but not in the mainstream that it is now. There was you still saw taboos that were shocking and titillating because you couldn't get it all the time, right? So then you see a movie like that and you're like, oh shit, this is great. But then as time progresses, you see more and more of it, and it doesn't really matter that much. And now, if they did like a teen boner comedy, it would have to be so shocking. It would have to be so next level that they wouldn't be able to make it.
I love that theory. It's almost your theory for why it died out is almost the exact opposite of what my theory. Like my theory was like, oh, like people, the what's the right way to say it? Like, it would be too offensive for modern audiences. Like they don't want to see that kind of like objectification of women and like this like weird like sex competition. You're almost saying the exact opposite. Where like it's not shocking enough to be entertaining and to make any money because you can see way worse, way crazier shit on the internet.
I mean, it could probably be a mix of both. We can't objectify, and nor should you. I'm not saying that like because we can't objectify. But, you know, because you can't objectify any one person, class, orientation anymore as a fetishized object. And also because, like, you can fucking see it all. You can see it all. And you can see shit that you probably never, ever want to fucking see in your entire life on the internet that for you to be titillated would almost be unobtainable.
Yeah, because I mean that's a good. Yeah, I think it is a mix of both. I would almost lean more in your direction. Like I think you're 100% right. It's probably a little bit like okay, like people a little bit trying to be a little bit more reserved. They don't want to like, you know, rock the public opinion boat, but at the same time, yeah, like on the internet, like between YouTube and any other like social media platform, you get way crazier stuff way easier and like in the sheer volume of it that you don't go to a movie to see that anymore.
Exactly. Cruel Intentions came out in 2000 and won Best Kiss MTV Movie Awards. The 2002 Best Kiss was Jason Biggs and Sean William Scott for American Pie 2. So take that for what it is, but I think that 2000s kind of it broke the mold in a lot of places. It was cutting the ties of the hangups of our fathers and stepping forward into what our generation would be defined by, which I guess would be more open in
much more open-mindedness in terms of like sexuality and whatnot.
Exactly. We're getting really deep for the chili episode.
No, I think it's interesting. We talking about this genre. Like, so here's my next question: do you think it will ever make a comeback?
I think comedy as a whole, that entire genre, is almost on ice right now as we speak.
Mm-hmm. In terms of at least like theatrical release films.
In terms of theatrical release films and shock value when it comes to any kind of shock value comedy. The last big shocking film that I saw in the movie theater for a comedy was The Hangover. I say that as I was sitting next to my
Interesting.
mom watching this film. She was fucking laughing her ass off. So was my dad. And at the end, when they do like do you remember at the end of it, they look at the camera to see all the crazy pictures, right? And Zach Galifianakis has a prosthetic dick that an old granny is sucking on. And I just remember my mom fucking losing her shit. She was like howling in her seat. She was loving it so much.
Oh my God.
Right? First off, I was like, Mom, are you fucking high right now? But I was also like, this is that moment. This is that moment. I'm sitting in a movie theater. I am probably seeing in my generation the height of shock comedy for a film, and it'll never obtain this, right? This is post Borat for everyone who doesn't understand or know.
That's a good point.
Film times. Borat has already come and gone. Borat started the revolution, and now we get to the Hangover, the first one. But if you look at it now, the new Borat film, it's shocking in that satire has become real life,
right?
And I don't think we're ever going to obtain we're never going to, I don't want to like politicize anything right now, but you're never going to obtain the shock value of like Jim Bob went down and got that horse paste medicine to cure his COVID, and now he shit himself at Walmart. And that's the joke in the movie, because it's happening in real life, right?
Yeah.
I just think like the internet has opened up so many different avenues for shock value, for shock jokes, gags, that film moves too slow to keep up the pace. By the time a movie does it, the joke's fucking old.
It feels dated. Yeah. Very interesting. I'm sure there's got to be a niche for it. Like between the internet, I agree. Comedy, like film comedy, it's like they just don't make money anymore. No one's gonna pay to go to the theater for that.
Tell me the last time you saw a comedy. Tell me the last comedy that you saw that was released within the past 5 years. Name one.
I can't. I'm not a comedy guy in general, but yeah, I honestly can't think of the last time I went and saw a comedy in a theater.
The last
I can't think of it. Yeah,
comedy that I was looking forward to was Coming to America, the sequel, and I didn't even fucking watch it.
Didn't that go straight to Netflix?
It did.
Yeah.
I think comedy is best when it's mixed with a different genre. Straight up comedies don't exist anymore. It's got to be a comedy horror. It's got to be comedy. It's got to be, like a dramedy. It's got to be something. Comedy films are dead.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting. I think, it's they still live on a little bit in streaming services.
Because I think they're so cheap.
Yeah, they're so cheap to produce. They'll never, that's a good point. So not only is potentially the boner comedy dead for good, maybe film like major like theatrical release comedies are deadish too.
Because for a comedy, it's like, get me the next big B-list comedian. We'll throw a $5 million budget at it. We'll put it on Netflix. We'll somehow make our money back. I really don't understand how that entire thing works. And then boom, we're done.
Yep. And it's forgotten about in a month. Like a handful of people will watch it. They'll get, I don't know how the licensing work for that works, but
all time worldwide box office for comedies. We're just going to go through the top 10. Okay. And now just remember, movies make a lot more fucking bank nowadays than they used to. Okay. So,
right.
Number 1, 2011, Hangover 2. Number 2, 2012, Ted. Number 3, 2004, Meet the
Dude.
Fockers. Number 4, 2012, Les Intouchables, The Intouchables, which is, I don't know how, I think this is a dramedy because this is a movie about the guy who's paraplegic. And he has a live-in helper, and the paraplegic guy is like, I want to die, and his helper's like, I'll get you to reconnect with the world, right? But let's keep going. 2003, Bruce Almighty. Number 6, 1990, Home Alone. Number 7,
Wow.
2009, The Hangover. Number 8, 1993, Mrs. Doubtfire. Number 9, 2008, Sex and the City. And number 10, 1988, Rain Man. And if we went to number 11, it's The fucking Hangover 3. Comedies stopped making money in 2012 for the international market, in 2011
Yikes.
for America.
Domestic. Yeah. So it's been like 10 years. I mean, you think that we would have had another, like we're kind of due for another comedy hit that's going to get on that list, but
You have to go.
what would that be?
to
Jackass, the new Jackass movie? I don't think so.
You have to go to number 67, 2021, Cruella, which I don't think that's a fucking comedy. That's a children's movie. I think that's a totally different genre in of itself.
Yeah.
You know what?
That's kind of scary.
I think because there is a Jackass 4 coming out.
Right. Yeah. Sometime later this year.
You got to be interested. The Jackass film saga. The first one made $80 million. And I would say in 2002, not knowing any of the movies that came out that year from a comedy perspective, that's probably top 5. Right.
Oh,
there.
yeah. I think that movie was pretty big. That was like peak, like really following their MTV kind of popularity. That was a big one.
Jackass number 2, $85 million. Again, I love these movies. That's like a top 5 comedy movie of that year, no doubt.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe even top 2. Jackass 3D was the last film I saw in America before I went to go live in Japan.
Memories.
It made $171 million.
Wow. Okay.
Now, it makes me just wonder, like,
help us, Jackass 4, your only hope.
Exactly. Like these movies that I look back at and go, like, these are like really great comedy films. And maybe because they're different, because they're like stunt based.
Yeah.
And the niche is probably really small, but my dad fucking watches this stuff too. So I don't know. I just think comedy's dead.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, well, who knows? We could be eating our hats in like a year or two from now.
Hangover 4 comes out and it makes like $1 billion.
Yeah. We're like, well, we're idiots. I don't know. Yeah. I think for sure, though, I think we've seen that this whole like gross out boner comedy, like sex romp kind of comedy is maybe it'll make a return in some form at some point in time. But I think we've seen the last of that for a long time.
I know I'm putting you up on, the chopping block here, but name me one comedy movie that came out this year. Exactly. Exactly. There should at least be like one or two within a year that we're looking for. I can name like fucking 5 comic book movies that came out this year. And I'm not one of those like, oh, comic book movies. Blah, 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 blah. I'll watch every comic book movie that you come out with.
Sure. Yeah.
I'll watch another Green Lantern film with Ryan Reynolds in it. I don't give a shit. I'm going to watch it.
I think the last comedy that I watched was either Palm Springs.
Yep.
Which was Hulu, I think, or Booksmart.
So, but even like Palm Springs is a high concept
sci-fi comedy.
Yeah. Booksmart.
That was kind of like a super bad kind of movie.
Coming of age comedy.
Yeah.
That movie was fantastic. I loved that one.
Yeah. Yeah. Both of those were great and hilarious.
Oh, yeah.
I think like that Booksmart is like, I think if we ever get boner comedies, I think that's as close as we've come in recent memory. Something like that, where it's more of like a coming of age, but there's still like a good message. There's the relatable characters, and it's not like gross and offensive.
And
But there's still like there's still like a sexual aspect to it.
and I think it was interesting because it was different. Instead of following a guy that wants to have sex, we're following an awkward lesbian,
Two awkward teenage girls, yeah.
one who happens to be lesbian, and she wants to have sex, but she's like not comfortable with her body or her emotions at the time.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's just like, boy, we've gotten a long way from Hot Chili, but Booksmart is not, it's way off in its own league. Hot Chili is not even playing the same sport.
No, yeah. Hot Chili's looking at the fucking ball going, how do they make this round?
So I guess what I'm saying is I'm glad the boner comedy is dead. May it not rest in peace.
I will say this. I would love to see it come back again, like for the ultimate bone. And
The American Pie 12.
right, like I want to see one really amazing try at it, just to see what a boner comedy for, I guess,
In 2021,
the
can
high school
actually do.
generation now would want to see, right? What would be their American Pie equivalent, and will it resonate with everyone the way that American Pie did? Because American Pie was a huge film. So I would like to see what resonates with this newer generation coming up behind us, to see what is acceptable in their eyes.
What is going to be the next "this one time at band camp" quote?
Yeah, this one time on TikTok.
Oh God. We're really dating ourselves there. We sound like a bunch of curmudgeons.
We probably do.
Ooh, these kids and their ticks and their talks.
Oh man.
So anyway, 0 stars for Hot Chili. Maybe I'll throw it a half a star only because it got us to deep dive on the state of comedy and our thoughts on its future, which is kind of interesting.
It
but
is.
This is hot garbage. Don't watch it. Even if you're a fan of this genre, it's gonna bore you to tears.
100%. Well, I mean, have you watched anything that was good this week?
Well, speaking of comic book movies, Shang-Chi came out on Friday.
It did.
Shang-Chi in the Legend of the Ten Rings. I think we both saw it.
We did.
It was, so I think this is the first. I know we got Black Widow, which was kind of like an interim. I think this is the next one and like the true like next phase of the Marvel universe.
Yes.
It was awesome. I loved it. There was great fight scenes, great chemistry between the main characters. It was one of the better origin stories, I think.
100%.
I think I would put it up there with Iron Man 1 in terms of origin stories. And yeah, it made me realize how much I actually missed seeing like these good Marvel event films in theaters. It's just a fun theater experience.
I thought you're gonna be like, it made me want to go out and like karate chop someone in the neck.
Learn kung fu and then like break my wrist and then whine all the way home.
No, I 100% agree. I think Marvel has a really great way of kind of like, I guess, reinvigorating themselves with almost every movie release that they do. They somehow, even though some say like, oh, it's a formula, blah, 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 there's still something about it.
It still feels fresh enough and entertaining. Like I don't know how they're doing it.
Yeah, neither do I. But no, I saw it too. Definitely a really great watch there. I watched The Jungle Cruise. What a disappointment for something that I wasn't excited to see at all. It was essentially just Pirates of the Caribbean again.
Yeah, that was what an interesting trend that they tried to go back to, this idea of like basing movies on Disney rides, because they did it with Pirates of the Caribbean, they did it with Haunted Mansion. What else have they did Tomorrowland, a Tomorrowland movie too, didn't they?
They did Tomorrowland. They're gonna do another Haunted Mansion. Call me when Hall of Presidents the movie comes out. It can be some like a Five Nights at Freddy horror show.
That would be awesome.
That would I would totally watch that.
Getting stalked in a Chuck E. Cheese hallway by a bunch of animatronic presidents.
That'd be you just
For skull and seven. There's a joke in there somewhere.
You
I'll
just-
think of it.
you hear the echo of like Donald Trump. He's like, it's gonna be the best. It's huge.
People love me when I murder them.
Yeah.
Everyone says it.
I'm gonna grab that tourist spot. Anyways, I think the only other notable thing that I really watched was Champagne and Bullets with Vinegar Syndrome release, also known as Get Even or Get Even. It was on Red Letter
Get it
Media.
in. Oh yeah, one of the better episodes.
Fucking brutal movie, dude. Just brutal. It is.
Yeah.
Everything that they say about it is 100% true. It's just a fluff piece for the director.
Yeah, one of those awkward vanity projects for a guy who thinks he's like the next Renaissance, like Arnold Schwarzenegger action hero.
Yeah.
Ugh.
What about you?
I just remember the parts of the Red Letter Me where they talk about where he's doing he's singing in a country
Oh,
a
yeah.
country square dance club, and how he looks afraid.
Terrified.
It's like that wide-eyed look, and he's really stiff.
I thought it was gonna be like a fun awkward. It was just an awkward film to watch.
Awkward, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, so we talked about Shang-Chi, and that got me in the mood to watch like an older kung fu film. So
Ooh.
I went back to something that I think it played during one of the Alamo Drafthouse, kind of like the reels that are playing when you're going and you're sitting down, you're ordering your food and everything. I wish I could remember which movie it played in, but it was a movie called Master of the Flying Guillotine.
Oh my god. Okay.
It's 1976 Hong Kong movie. It's about a blind kung fu master who is I think it's a sequel. He's getting revenge for two of his proteges who died in the first movie. And he's a bad guy, by the way. Like, these two students were evil. So he's getting revenge for his two proteges. And he uses this weapon that looks like a beekeeper helmet, like a beekeeper net hat on a chain. And he throws it on top of people's heads, twists the chain so that a bunch of knives close around the neck, and he decapitates them with it, like at a distance.
Okay. What's the movie again called?
Master of the Flying Guillotine.
Master of the Flying. All right. This is definitely going on my watch list.
Oh, it absolutely 100% needs to be, because it is awesome. It's one of these kung fu movies. It's really thin on plot, but it's just an excuse to have fun fight scenes. And the good thing about this one compared to other like Hong Kong, kung fu cinema is it's got a really good mix of different like fighting styles, because there's like this. The central plot element is like there's this tournament that's attracting all these people. So the blind master, he's going there to hoping that the guy who murdered his proteges is going to be there. So you get like people from all around the world. You get like fighters from Japan and Thai kickboxers, and you get a guy who I think is from India or Bangladesh, some part of us, somewhere in Southeast Asia, who he's got like these stretchy arms like Dalsim in Street Fighter. Just a really cool variety of fighters.
That's
And it's
insane.
awesome.
It sounds
Yeah.
insanity.
You got to check it out. It was hard to find. I found, where the heck was it? It was actually pretty similar in quality to the to the hot chili version that we saw, but I think you probably find it on YouTube, or I think there's a bad quality version of it on Amazon Prime you can check out, but it's awesome. I plan to hunt down a DVD copy of this if I can.
Nice. Very nice.
Yeah. Much two great martial arts films, much better. That's much more in my wheelhouse than Hot Chili, that's for sure.
Well, Greg, I think our future is going to give it a little bit better. I'm tired of these
God.
fucking comedies. I'm tired of watching assholes named Chuck Norris run through the forest.
Shoot poor unsuspecting POW guards.
It's time to kick it a little old school, back in our wheelhouse. We're going to watch the 1985 British science fiction horror film Life Force, directed by Tobe Hooper.
Oh my gosh, we're finally here.
Yes.
Life Force.
Based on the 1976 novel The Space Vampires, The film
Totally
portrays
highbrow.
the events that unfold after a trio of humanoids in a state of suspended animation are brought to Earth after being discovered in the hold of an alien spaceship by the crew of a European space shuttle.
Awesome.
It
Awesome.
it stars people, but I gotta tell you, I have never heard of any of them. So yeah,
It stars people. Okay.
Life
I'm sure
Force.
I'm sure there will be some recognizable faces because Toby Hooper's a big director. So I suspect he'll be able to attract a couple names. I suspect this will be another one of those movies where there's a lot of people we recognize from Star Trek or X-Files,
Oh
like
God,
later in their
yes.
career.
I hope so.
So, but no, I'm looking forward to it. This is like, when I first made the little like banner for our podcast and I was picking all like the characters to put in there, I think the Life Force guy is like front and center in that banner. So I'm quite excited.
You can watch this for free on Pluto TV. It is
Yes.
available for rent in other places. So Life Force will be the next. But Greg, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you, what's the quote of the week this week?
So I went a little unconventional this week because I hate this movie so much. I did not want to give any quotes from it the light of day. So my quote of the week is actually from the YouTube comment section on the video where we watched it, because it so perfectly sums up the audience and the niche where this movie probably found it found hungry eyes who are wanting this kind of content. And I'll read the whole quote because it's gross and weird, and I want everyone to hear it. This was a handy film to have during my early puberty years. I remember seeing this late night, and after 2 minutes of watching it, I hit the record button on my VCR. I sound like an old man, but kids today don't know how lucky they are to have porn on demand. Come to think of it, I'm glad I didn't have porn on demand when I was a kid, because I would have never left my room.
What kind of fucking insanity, rambling of a madman.
So like I honestly I struggled to find a real quote from the movie anyway, but I was like, I saw that, I was like scrolling through the comments, and like it just so accurately represents the kind of person I imagine who actually likes this movie. This movie is the taped off of HBO late at night onto a VCR that they hide from their parents. That's this movie in a nutshell. That's the audience for Hot Chili.
And that, just to give a shout out, that comes from user Paul77 on YouTube.
Paul, you son of a bitch.
When you sent that to me, there's not that many comments. There's only 22 comments in total on this thing. And that definitely is the best one.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
I think it got liked by the whoever posted the video too. Like all these weirdos, they recognize their own.
Well, if you like what you're hearing, go ahead and give us a like, a subscribe, comment if you can. You can find us on all the big streaming places. You can also follow us on TikTok at That's Canon Podcast. You can follow us on YouTube at That's Canon. And you can also send us an email at thatscanon@gmail.com.
Please
and
do.
If you are the ad guy for the magazine that we're trying to buy ad space in, you should really respond back to me. It's not a joke. I do want to buy ad space in your magazine.
Please respond. The desperation.
Yes.
It's thick.
And remember, since we said it,
That's canon.